sessions, and I would like you guys to wake up. Come on, everybody, give me a big clap. Thanks, guys. So our first session is going to be moderated by Aryadi Yanaya from JobsDB. Please give him a warm welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Today, I hope you enjoyed the session yesterday, the initial day for the Nxtcon 2014. Today, we are going to do more in-depth discussion about Indonesian landscape. Yeah. But first, we would like to invite our guest speaker for today, Mr. Tauzif Rias, Chief Digital Service Officer from Indosat. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Tauzif Rias. CEO and founder Lazada Indonesia. And then the third speaker, Pak Edi Sulistyo, CTO from e-event. Morning, everyone. Sorry for the misunderstanding. I thought first gonna present something earlier, so because I said your presentation before. So before we start the talk show, the informal talk show, I would like each of the speakers from you to introduce about yourself, what you're doing, and about your company.
I was associated with the event, but I just want to make a clarification that since the acquisition of the event, I'm no longer part with the event. Most of the team moved to the new company, but we as the founder, we were able to get out and sneak out from the acquisition. So, just a little bit about myself. My background, and I'm actually a computer scientist at heart. And basically, I've been living in the US in the past 20 years, and I was bitten by bug of entrepreneurship maybe about, I don't know, for a long time. And since then, I founded and created a lot of companies. Many of them actually failed, but some of them we were able to exit from it.
So my name is Magnus. I am CEO for Lazada. And Lazada, yeah, what are we? We call ourselves online marketplace and online shopping mall, which I guess fits contradiction in terms of this country where you don't really go online maybe to go to the mall on weekends. But that's what we have been trying to make people do for the last 3 years that Lazada has existed. I've been here since then, and yeah, I hope to be here for quite a while longer. So yeah, I guess we have a lot to talk about.
Thank you. Okay.
And the team I'm part of is focused on building digital businesses across our footprint. And when we looked at Indonesia, it is our biggest market. It is also the most exciting market. So I was sent by my bosses to Indonesia last year to work here for 2 years to help Indosat build a digital business unit, but also to help Indosat invest in startups and internet companies. So we've already set up a startup incubator called IdeaBox. We have 4 companies we have graduated. One of them already got a $1.2 million valuation. They're really happy. They're based in Jogja, have lots of money. And we are launching next week. We will announce a venture capital fund also, around $40 million venture capital fund in Indonesia, again focused on Indonesian companies. So big ambitions and very excited about the Indonesian market.
Thank you. First, I would like to introduce myself. Briefly, my name is Arya Dianaya. Currently, I've been for the last 1.5 years, I've been with Jobs TV. Jobs TV is like, maybe most of you already know, like one of the oldest job portal online business in Indonesia. It's been here since 14 years ago. It's been going through the whole lot of transformation. Since 2011, Jobs TV, the 7 countries of Jobs TV, Southeast Asia, leading Asia, has been acquired by Nxtcon, Australia. It's the largest job portal in the world, in terms of market capital. So right now we go through the whole changing from the community, from the behavior of Indonesian market. 14 years ago is totally different to what we are now. So we have to change, basically, right? The way we interact with the user is no longer valid, something like that. So there was like something like maybe I can share a bit about how we should be adapting, the changing of the culture of the society. Yeah. Okay, let me go with my first question. For each of you, what do you think about Indonesian market? Yeah, it is different from other markets in the world. From like behavior, the way people, interact, with the touch point of digital, payment, logistics, regulatory. Can you share with, what you think and what is the challenge that you are having? Perhaps like it was working somewhere but it's not working today in Indonesia, something. So maybe from you.
All right. For me, I think the biggest difference is the culture. I get used to with the US culture where everybody is so individualized and everybody knows. I mean, if when we were in the US, we can build a platform, as you can see on the tech trends and everything. You can build a platform, a self-service platform where everybody can use. And at the same time, we can build a marketplace and people are tech savvy enough to understand. And they're willing to pay. In Indonesia, it's completely different because people want to be served.
From anything else. I think at Lazada we are present, you say, across Southeast Asia with the Lazada brand, and then we are, should we say, part of the bigger Rocket family. We have operations in over 90 different countries. And I think what we always say is that it's not that different. It looks pretty much the same across the world. People, should we say, consumption and time spent is moving from offline to online, it's moving into social patterns. It's not that different at the same time. I think Indonesia, everyone who sits in here, I think shares with you a perspective that it's a fantastic country, it's a fantastic market. There are 260, 270 million people, something no one really knows out there. Internet users are going from 30 to 60 to 90, 120. I think it's like a movie playing in ultra rapid, just how fast things are taking off. And also if you look at
Asif, what's your...
Okay, so should I tell you what I think about the market?
Yeah.
I think it's the most frustrating market, I think. Most frustrating and most confusing market. I think maybe I'll end up repeating some what Marcus said, right? So when I came here last year, right, I was very excited about it. So there are a lot of positives, right? And everybody knows them. We come here, 260 million people. There are other things in this market. Like mobile penetration is 95%. You know what that means? Even babies have mobile phones. Literacy level is very high. 99% literacy among women, right? So it's a very well-educated market.
Yeah. We'll come back to the talent issue later on, right? Any question from the audience? First, on the raise right now regarding the first issue. One, the back. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, good morning. My name is Abigail, and my question is, in regards to raising funds, us as a startup with this idea, of course we're very protective of our ideas. And if we do get investors, we will have to give up some parts of our equity. Additionally, we'll most probably be more afraid of giving up this idea to a much bigger company with much more resources than we have. What do we do to protect ourselves from this idea getting stolen or being copied? That's the question. Thank you.
Sorry, from my side, people don't invest invest in ideas, just so you know. People invest in businesses and products, right? So one thing you need to be clear on, if you go to somebody, you need to go to somebody and you think you just present a great idea to them, they will give you money. It happens very rarely, right? Their mechanism today exists in Indonesia. You take an idea, you can take it through Founders Institute. They will train you how to be a business developer. Then you can locate in any of the incubators. There's like I think 6, 10 incubators, good incubators in Jakarta. With us, with our competitors, Excel, Telkom, they've all said that you have to go through it. You have something to show to people first of all. So this is very important. Don't think great idea will get you money. It doesn't happen. You have to show them a product. You have to show them you guys are capable not of only coding, developing a good product, but also managing people. You understand finance. The biggest problem we have when people come to us and say, "Oh, we've got a good idea. Can you give us $500,000?" I said, first go out and get yourself a co-founder who understands finance and business. That's what you know. Second thing is in terms of protecting yourself, there are two ways, right? If you have a great product, great service, people will be happy taking a minority stake, right? So they will not try to control you. And good investors understand that. For example, we don't try to control companies we invest in.
Okay, let's go to my next question. So, just related to what talent, right? I saw like several, I've been involved in a startup for a while as well. So I saw like a lot of startup VC in Indonesia, they spend money, put the seed money, and I know none of them, got somewhere, right? I think there was like the issue of the maturity of the people here. I mean, like in the US, basically, you got the founder and they can execute. They got the entrepreneur coming from the college here, basically. Indonesia, I saw like most of them are not ready, right? They usually the one already that they go to working for like company, and then they go back and become the entrepreneur.
And then you have to experience yourself, and you have to let yourself to fail in order to learn something. I mean, that's what we learn anyway. We learn it in the hard way that, I mean, we know, for example, we know about lean startup. Everybody knows about lean startup. It's very famous. But the thing is, executing it the right way, in the lean way, it's not that easy. It's easier said than done. And when you're actually in that situation, you will forget all of this theory, and your emotional will play into a major role.
So I think from my side, I guess what is said is true. I mean, if you guys look at it, Indonesia is around, I would say, 10 years behind Silicon Valley, Europe, on internet, on India.
No, I'm going to stop you right there. I don't agree. Why is it behind?
I'll tell you why I think so, right? So, because we own talent and everything, right? So right now, there are two models. There are two models if you look at talent in the e-commerce space. One source of talent is people who've had a lot of failures, like you were saying, right? So if you guys are too young, I'm quite old. So I remember I was in Canada in the 1990s, right? So I saw the whole bubble being made and burst. I was in a business school. Everybody in my class did their own startups. It was crappy. If you look at hindsight today, we look at Apple, we look at the apps, we look at Android, say Google, oh my God, like, awesome things. I don't know if you remember GeoCities. It was the worst, ugliest thing ever.
Really quick, so I wish that the government plays a major role in helping us with the regulation. There's a lot of ways that I wish the government would do, like maybe like creating like a different legal entity for startup that make it faster in one day. They can apply online, it will happen in one day. Or maybe something like with a tax incentive. With startup you don't have to pay a tax for 3 years or something like that. There's a lot of ways. But my take on that is, if you want to run a business, don't depend on it. I mean, don't make that as something. Don't make that as a prevention for you to grow forward, because I mean, government doesn't care about your business anyway. So you are the one, you are the founder. So don't worry about that and focus on your business and make it through. Don't get distracted with this regulation.
Okay, so thank you everyone. Please give a warm welcome to the speakers. Feel free to contact them directly after this to chat more about like what is your question that can be shared during the session, or contact me or through the committee of Nxtcon. So thank you so much for your attention.
Yes.
JP. Basically, my name is Nxtcon. I'm going to be the host for this panel. Why don't we just start by basically just quick introduction, like 1 minute introduction. Isak, you first. Just talk about your name and then your companies that you'll be.
Okay. So my name is Isak. Just in case your question, I'm not Indian, I'm Indonesian. I can speak English fluently also. I did some companies including the Nxtcon, the Nxtcon, the company with Visa, the eCash, the company with Bank Mandiri, and also the 7-Eleven company.
So I'm JP, I'm also not Indonesian.
But you can speak Indonesian.
I can. Indonesia, 10 plus years now, 511 PE, and now 3 of them mobile internet. Currently leading Indonesia's first online financial services brokerage.
So my name is Nxtcon. I run an online payments company called Fairchance, which is payment doing. So before I kind of go over to the panels and start with talking about the panels, I just want to give you a brief overview of what I see about online banking, online payments, and the various financial landscape. Can we just start with a presentation that I created? So it's very, very brief. It's very simple, but this is, if you talk about banking and payments, there's 4 different major categories. There's investments, there's lending, there's savings, and there's payments. I don't know why it's flickering.
Yes, to the world of banking insurance. We focus on the asset as well as the liability side of the banking products. Exactly as Rio said, we never really made the transition yet fully away from tellers and agents here. So if an Indonesian wants to go and get a mortgage or compare personal loans or even get a credit card, right? It's largely a paper base defined by networks of agents, many of whom might say, hey, it's not, I need to get this and this product. This is how my brother-in-law does this. So it's really difficult actually to do it efficiently, transparently, and fast. You compound that obviously with the infrastructure challenges of getting around banks closing in 3, right? So I think the kind of internet and all this defined by multiple screens, we can actually get right in front of the customer, offer them convenience, efficiency, and transparency.
That's a good one. Liberalize the bank.
Right. Tell me about Seven. What is Seven?
The 7-Eleven actually is our attempt to create the retail payment. So I think 7-Eleven in Jakarta only, Jakarta, Greater Jakarta actually is we have around 168 stores, and we think it's a good payment point for everything. So we started with we sell the ticket concert, we sell banking, we sell top up, and then we're gonna add a lot of things that you can buy immediately from here. Even then you can. Later and not now. Actually, you can order from internet and you can pay it in 7-Eleven as well. It's going to be. I think it's going to be done with together. That one.
So basically, we're running slightly out of time because I know JP needs to catch a flight. So we're going to go ask the 4 questions. Can we get the mics around if anyone has questions? Ronald right there is basically my competitor. He runs Token. So, right there. You probably want to ask a question? Okay. No one? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Budiman from Mobile Pulsa. I want to ask for Mr. Ellis. As we know, there are some regulation from Bank of Indonesia regarding the payment in Indonesia. For example, e-money regulation and other regulation. Do you see this as an opportunity or just an obstacle for the growth of Indonesian payment business? Is other country has the same strict regulation like us? The second question for Mr. Kawano. Please share to us what are the key factors, maybe 2 or 3, to build successful payment gateway business. As I know, Veritrans is the market leader in Indonesia. And the third for all of you, maybe intermediate question. Please tell us what book do you read and influence you a lot for growing your business? Thank you.
That's a lot of questions. So, any other questions? I'm just going to compile that with someone else's questions. No? Okay, then we'll answer that question. Jim, you want to answer the first part of that question?
Sure. So I think Bank Indonesia, OJK regulations, clearly all of our companies,
clearly comply, and we make it really explicit with a customer. I think their question was specifically on e-payment, if I heard that right. But in terms of like, bank proceeding and making an application, opening a bank account, and so on, it's pretty simple compared to obviously like mobile payments. So if your question is about banking payments, I think probably Isak or Vio are better suited to answer it. But there are regulations pertaining to insurance, how it's distributed, how do banks treat customer data, and so on. And again, it's pretty it's well thought out. It's a pretty simple one compared to the e-payment.
I can give you 20 or 30 ideas immediately.
Yeah.
Because it was never happened before. Because of our payment, it's going to be. And if you do it correctly, then I think you can get a lot of money immediately. That's it.
If I could just add one more thing, I think this sector is also defined by actually adding a lot of value and convenience to people. So it's not kind of like building a better app to scratch your nose. I guess some of my partners joke, like e-payments, the ability to shop for services online, find the best products. I mean, this is really like adding value and convenience to people's lives. So I think that's another thing to think about.
If I may get that one, I just for the youngster here who create the new mobile application, I'll tell you that you need to have a very great user interface, really great. I mean, user based on my experience, user is going to be forgiving if your application does not work, but it looks beautiful. Trust me, that's why.
Well, thanks so much, JP and Isak. And now, maybe a round of applause for the panelists. Great. So we ended a little bit early. We're to lunch, and lunch is outside. So thank you so much, and hope to see you again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Please welcome our next host, Anton Sohario from Touchdown Game. Thank you.
So, welcome to this gaming session. My name is Anton, and today I'm going to introduce you our first speaker. I would rather say this is a very narcissist guy, because his company is called Justin TV, and his name is Nxtcon. So, if you want to find out more about Justin TV from Nxtcon, Mr. Nxtcon, please welcome Mr. Justin on stage.
How are you guys? Pretty sleepy after lunch? Tired? I'm gonna lull you to sleep with my post-nap. You guys don't have like a nice time to nap right now. I'm supposed to stand behind this thing, sorry. Okay, so my name is Justin Kahn. I'm a partner at a seed fund called Y Combinator, and I'm gonna talk to you about gaming. But first, I'm gonna tell you about my entrepreneurial journey and pivoting, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. Your choice is really called to a pivot, right? Maybe it's time to pivot. And you don't know whether you should because you've spent all this effort trying to sell this idea. You've told your relatives are sick of hearing about it. You've raised all this investor money. It's kind of like a high stakes decision, right? Do I continue with this product or do I try to do something new? with my team. But it turns out that like a couple years later, it was flat. It was something like people wanted it, but live video is only really useful for a few things. It was useful for like sports type of content or maybe news, but it wasn't generally good. It wasn't like gonna kill video on demand. You know, most people wanted to watch things not live. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board. We were like, how can we continue growing? And what we did was we basically, me and my co-founders kind of got together and we were like, what are people doing on our site right now that we think can be bigger? So, you know, to get back to pivoting, why do early businesses fail? I think there's really two reasons that, you know, directly pertain to my experience. One of those is this, you know, a lot of early startups are a solution in search of a problem, right? Justin TV, our original show, wasn't really solving anyone's problem. No one really had, except for maybe my parents who wanted to see my life, right? Like most people didn't care about that. It wasn't actually something that they wanted. All right, thanks. And now we'll have a panel. And now we'll have a panel. And now there will be a panel.
Belum diundang udah naik? Belum. It's okay. Halo ya, welcome ya, silakan. Justin, you sit here.
Okay.
Arif, Dean, and Ricky. Sorry guys about this.
And now there will be a panel.
So I'm sure you guys enjoyed Justin's presentation. It's very inspiring. I would like, oh sorry, I forgot my question. Yeah. Okay. So, number one is, we will skip Justin because you already know about Justin, but we want to kind of introduce our panelists. These are all amazing people I work with in my industry. Can you, starting from Ricky and then goes to Dean and Arif, but you know, tell us your name, your position in the company, a little bit about your company in about 30 seconds.
Hi, my name is Ricky. I know I'm not in the list because of sudden thing. So I do game publishing, game developer. We publish games from like Korea. If there's from Indonesia, we can do it from Japan, Taiwan. We're basically like a book publisher. We get the content, we sell it, and I'm the CEO of that company. Thank you.
So I'm Ye, I'm from Malta. We are a game development and publishing company. We founded in 2003, so almost like 11 years something. We develop mobile and some online games, and lately we do also publishing, focusing on the mobile, especially in Indonesia. So we have a big curiosity about the Indonesian market.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Arif. I'm a co-founder of Data Studio, it's a game development company. We are focusing on Indonesian market, and also we build sales game and ML games. So we do both.
Okay. You guys are very humble. Yeah. So we are all about startup, right? And the word startup is like, you know, starting up. So maybe I would like to ask the so-called the master Wong first, but I will ask the question to all of you: is that how do you first start your company? You know, it's easy to have an idea, but how do you first start your company?
So we start. It's back in 2003. It's in Indonesia, it's like a booming of the online game at the time. So the first successful online game at the time called Nxtcon is the Kingdom of Wind in Korea. The result is quite good, and then the Ragnarok is coming. So at the time we already worked in the professional game studio, and we see that okay, the online games can make money in Indonesia, so why don't we make our own game at the time from Indonesia? So from that idea, 4 of us make an online game at the time. We targeting creating an online game for the Indonesian market.
So I just came back from, I did my university in America. I was working in Japan. I came back to Indonesia, and I know kind of like the game business is coming on. Like I didn't see a big future in it, but I felt like it's something that I can work my basis on and move forward from there. And coincidentally, my sister just met a guy called Ari from Agape. And she's like, oh my god, this guy is so amazing, you have to meet him. So I met him, then we were talking, and I got interested in taking some of the shares, like buying a couple of percentage of the shares. But that didn't work out, and Ari came to my office one day and goes, Ricky, let's make a publisher.
Ravi, you want to add a little bit?
It's actually interesting because I feel if the question is how I saw other thing, it's actually since 2003 I still high school student, very hardcore. I play like 10 hours in a day, and suddenly I'm browsing and see like ultimate building is very nice. It's like it inspired me. Yeah. It's very like my dreams at the time is changing to become I want to be a game developer. So that's why I found it. So it's since 2003 after 2009 I learned how to be a game developer, and then in 2009 I built a game development company with some of my friends, and then like 3 years later I met Ricky, and then the story continues.
Starting with maybe Wong.
Okay.
Yes.
So the question is about payment and
Yes.
whether the people will pay or not. Something like that. So in my experience, in the general, people has a belief that Indonesia is not willing to pay for games. In the general, I have a lot of Japanese colleagues, then I discuss with them, and they actually talk to me. In the past, like 10 years ago, Japan is the same. They will not pay for games, and then things change. In Indonesia, I have worked with the one game. It's really local, feature phone. In a month, average it's been like 2008, still running until now. 2008 when they start, average per month is about $50,000 per month. Peak maybe can go to $70,000 to $80,000. Right now, still running. Imagine.
Okay. First, my name is Jonathan, and I'm still a student at Pinus University. And this is still new for me because I'm first joined to try to make some games, and I still don't really get how the product like games should be get some profit. So from what I saw, that the product that game has developed and showed is not really popular in Indonesia. I just want to ask your opinion. What is the best move to market our products, such like the games itself?
That's it. When you say games, are you saying mobile games or because it's different?
Oh yeah. I mean it's mobile games.
Mobile games. iOS, Android, or both, or features only.
Oh yeah. It's for Android or
Android.
Yeah.
And your market is Indonesia or sorry, I have to ask because.
Oh yeah. Maybe it's about a global market.
Global market for Android. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to address who or just anybody?
Can I ask for their
All
opinion?
opinion. Okay, we can start with you.
Thank you.
If you don't know, it's okay.
I don't really understand this question. So
Also, the question is, how do you market, or how do you push the marketing for Android games for worldwide?
So I'm thinking of going to if I'm going to a mobile market maybe with Ari or for publishing his games. Global market is very easy because anything to do if you're doing mobile is like the easiest thing for global market because there's only the internet and your phone. So it has to be digital. I just cannot see anything else besides maybe digital marketing. Unless you're gonna go locally and market it like House and Dragon, which I don't think is a very feasible thing right now.
Anyway, I would say the other way around. Because I think everybody wants to make every person has some plans. And then let's say they're really good to make one product that's really good, maybe. And everybody think that if they upload it in Google Play because it's so good, or App Store, it will go up by itself. So, but the fact is not. It's buried somewhere else in those thousands of apps and games. So everybody dreams that if I put there, it's going to go up. No, you cannot. You have to work out on it. So that's what I want to say. That's marketing efficiency.
So maybe we can chat with you later on. And if you have anybody here have any questions, feel free to grab us. And I would like to thank our panel, Vicky, Dean, Arif, and Justin. Give a round of applause for them. I hope you have a good time. Enjoy the time with us. If you have any more questions, please grab us outside the stage. But for now, I would like to announce for our next host, Mr. Enda Nasution. Please give a round of welcome.
Halo everyone, selamat siang. Apa kabar semuanya? How are you guys this afternoon? Tetap semangat? Asik ya? Okay. To continue to our next session, this session will be on social media and chat platform. We'll have speakers and panelists from big companies and corporations, but also people who have experience in doing startups and entrepreneurs as well. So I think we'll have very good discussion and conversation. Hopefully there's still time for question and answer, but let's see whether the discussion will lead us to question and answer. So to make it shorter, I would like to introduce and welcome to the stage Aman Batram from Nxtcon. Please give a big round of applause for Aman.
I'm Aman Bartram. I'm a co-founder of Nxtcon. This session is on social media, and a big problem with social products is that they get nearly all their value from a network effect. People use the product because their friends are already using the product, and that can make it extremely difficult to launch a new social media product. It was a period of crazy growth, and it was extremely exciting. We were a small team, just three guys, and I learned a lot about tons of things about how to build out servers to support millions of users, about how to pitch your product to the press. The biggest takeaway for me was the power of A/B testing. So I'm going to go through each of those steps and sort of talk about how it applies to testing, and then talk about how we did that on social media. And then step 5 in the process, repeat. Testing is very much not about one test. It's completely an iterative process. Just like people on stage earlier have said that the vast majority of startups fail, that's true. Sort of similar to that, the vast majority of tests fail. Most features you add in your app are bad. Most redesigns you add in your app are bad. So in order to find the good ones, the ones that are going to make your product succeed, you need to go through tons and tons of them. Links, basically before anyone installed Nxtcon, they click a link that would hit our server, we would record their IP address, and then when they launch the app, we would look at the IP address of the app and compare that with the IP addresses to which we had sent invite links, which IP address can change, so that was 100% accurate, but it was accurate enough to give us meaningful test results. So I know testing is powerful, and you should look for ways to test through external sources. It's sometimes hard. And then totally new product, obviously. Testing is an iterative process that looks at the changes to a product. So the very first time you launch a product, you have to click your gut and try to make it as good as possible, and then you can start running tests. So I guess really takeaways here. Testing is powerful. It's how we got around the bootstrapping problem for Nxtcon by, over a period of time, looking at small changes we could make to make the app useful for people. It's a scientific method. Pick a metric, release tests, try trajectometric move. Over time, if you're focused and everyone on board, you can almost always make very significant improvements to your product. That was my presentation. Amin at Nxtcon.com. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Aman, for the presentation. Again, big round of applause for Aman. How interesting is that? A/B testing. Who's the developers in the room now? You guys are already familiar with A/B testing, or this is actually something very new to you guys? Okay, I think they all learned something from you. So, to continue to our discussion, I would like to call to the stage Mr. Daud from Facebook. Please give applause for Daud from Facebook. And then for Andy from WeChat. Andy from WeChat, please give a round of applause for Andy. And last is Sultan from Kaskus. Just give a round of applause for Sultan. Okay, so this is the time when we supposed to discuss things about social media, but also about entrepreneurship and how from a leader to become a founder. So I think my first question to all of you guys is that before that, let me do this before I forget. I would like to, because Aman already speak, I would like to ask Sukan, Daud, and Andy to speak a little bit about your roles now in what you do in your daily tasks, but also a little bit something that you want to say to the audience here in Nxtcon. Maybe you can start with Sukan first.
I'm CEO at Kaskus, so my daily job essentially is to clean up after all the mess.
As always, for CEOs. Thank you. And
I'm the growth manager for Facebook, and growth manager basically is making sure that the user continues to grow and making sure that we want more of the user to continue to grow.
Hi, my name is Andy Lau. I'm the CMO at MNC Tencent, and I basically am overseeing all the marketing and promotion for WeChat here in Indonesia.
thank you. And because we don't have a mic in our hand, I think we don't have to, I don't think I need to allow you guys to speak. If you want to add something, you can just jump out to the discussion. First, I think my question to all of you guys is that, what is your main objective now in terms of where you are working now? So I think for Aman is what you are working on, social channel, what is I think your short-term objective 3 months from now or 6 months from now, and then your long-term objective. Same question to all of you guys as well.
Sure, I can start. We were acquired by Autodesk in 2012. So the situation has changed since when we were at our own company, but it's still, the team's still quite small. It's 8 people now. We're in a larger Autodesk office, but we're sort of our own little area. So I think our objective is still the objective of Nxtcon, which is to keep growing. Recently we released a YouTube integration, the ability to play YouTube videos inside the app. We're experimenting with creating some channels of content, that users submit from YouTube.
Right. What do you see? What do you think changed when you work on your own company and now as a CEO of Kaskus?
Well, I actually have been as an employee also in several startup companies, ranging from network management system, enterprise software, case tools, derivative trading system for Wall Street, all this different stuff. Also worked for Bank of America as VP of Internet Banking Technology. So, I've been employees also. But when I come into being responsible for the company, it's a different mindset. As an employee, most of the time we only think about, how do I get paid, how do I get promotion? But we as business owners, as entrepreneurs, our job is to make the business grow and to enable all the hidden resources and talents that's been hiding under the ground, so they can be unearthed and they can, give their best. Because it's not only good for the company, but it's also good for the employees. People in general are looking for two things. One is to seek happiness, if you will, or seek pleasure.
Seek happiness, I will note that.
Yeah, seek pleasure, and the other part is to avoid pain.
Then also, we have the social aspect and also the gaming side as well. So going forward, I think like one thing that we're looking into a lot is, since we do have a local company here and a local team here, we are actually sourcing and identifying local content that may be very attractive to Indonesian users, and using that as a way to really make the product not just WeChat, but a WeChat that's suited and fit for Indonesian users.
Do you guys have developer teams here, or just a sales and marketing?
Well, we have a sales and marketing here. That's where it is. The development team is in China. However, they are fully supportive, and we do have a dedicated team in China that's helping us out. So, for example, one thing that we recently launched here as part of our TVC is a scratch card game. So you can actually go on WeChat and play a scratch card game to win prizes. So that was just also a demo that we can also use with other partners in the future. But it's a way to really engage and interact with consumers and users on like a different level, something that's more novel, something that you wouldn't expect just from a machine tool.
How do you get users to use Facebook without them having internet connection?
There are actually two parts of this question. So if you're on the feature phones, the non-smartphone, push notification does not exist. So what happens if somebody tries to connect to you, right? You won't know, unless you can usually check your handphones, which is not a good experience. So we enable SMS notification. So you know that somebody is trying to reach out to you. But if you are in the phone with not any internet for whatever purpose, or maybe even the phone have an internet capability, but you think that going on the internet is very expensive, and you don't want to pay for it, we want to make sure that this user actually can still try out Facebook. And hopefully we will be able to convert them to be an online user. So we develop this product. So it's, again, it is not something that we try in a big way, but we feel that looking at the market condition, this is something that we should try. And hopefully when the ride on the wave to smartphone actually continue and everybody move, they already know what Facebook is all about.
But it reminds me that when you started social cam, the social network aspect, Facebook is already there, right?
Yes.
And one of the main features is, I think, that from social cam you can post it to your Facebook, or your Facebook friends become friends on social cam, right? Now, my question is, aren't you afraid that Facebook will just do the same thing? And how do you deal with that? Whether you just decide, okay, well, just do it, or how do you calculate that?
So that was not one of the core features as we originally conceived of the product. We originally conceived of it as sort of a more private tool. Basically, a way that people would, the problem we were trying to solve was that if someone took a video of their child on their smartphone and wanted to share that with their parent, very often they would do that by physically handing the parent the phone and saying, "Here, look at this cool video." So we were trying to build a tool to make it extremely easy to take video and get that to people in your address book. That was our original idea, which does not compete directly with Facebook. Over time, through all the A/B testing, we ended up shifting more or less competition with Facebook. I guess my answer there is that look at Instagram. My Instagram was very much from the beginning, and direct competition with Facebook, and it was extremely successful. It's sometimes possible to an extremely incredible product that tons of people use that does so many things that there's sometimes an opportunity to create a product that does one of those things a little bit better.
Okay. Sadly, we are out of time. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the session and have some learning that came out of it. Let's give big round of applause for everyone. I myself, I still have a lot of questions, but if you guys have a lot of questions still, I think you guys still around at the conference, you can just ask them directly. One thing that I think, one of the key points that we can take out from the session is that the opportunity is still out there. Even Facebook still saying that there's still millions of people that are still not online, still not on social network. So if you guys building a social media for Indonesia only, I think there's an opportunity for that. So for entrepreneurs, for startups, the people who are doing startups, don't stop your dreams. Here, opportunities are still there, but do a lot of heavy testing, and you guys are going to be fine. Thank you.
For those of you outside, come in, guys. Otherwise, just a quick announcement. Don't go home yet. When the show is over, we actually have some prizes and giveaways. So, without further ado, I want to introduce to our host, Sebastian Togelan from Mountain Ventures. Please give a warm welcome.
Hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. So now my name is Sebastian Togelan and I'm a serial entrepreneur since I'm 22 years old. Currently the founder of Mountain Southeast Asia Ventures. And today we're gonna talk about a really interesting topic. Money. Who in this room needs money? Raise a hand. So yeah, I think it's very important in the ecosystem of the tech investment, tech ecosystem. Everybody, I think to run like a really big startup, you need to invest. The partner of Y Combinator and the founder of Hufu will give us a short presentation. Welcome.
Alright, so thank you, I'm really honored to be here. Today's talk, I'm going to go over our sort of philosophy to how we help scale companies at Y Combinator. As mentioned, I'm a partner at YC, and what that means specifically is that I help go out and recruit smart young people to come and start businesses and come and apply to Y Combinator. In addition to doing that recruiting, I also work with them to sort of read applications, go through tons of interviews, work with the startups on a weekly basis when we're in session, and then also help problem solve with our alumni, 6 batch. And what I built there was a product called Wufoo. It's an online form builder, help you create online surveys, process event registrations, and process simple online payments. It's a simple database app that kind of looks like it's designed by a toy company. Although it looks really, really simple to use, it's fairly powerful. Our services were used by every industry, market, and vertical that you can imagine, including nonprofits, small, medium businesses, and a number of enterprise brands that you've probably heard of. I ran that company for 5 years, and in 2011 we were acquired by SurveyMonkey. And what's interesting about the exit of our company and that sort of acquisition is that we were a relatively small team for sort of the EBITDA margins and the profits that we were making at the time. We were only 10 people, and while we did get started in Silicon Valley going through Y Combinator, we actually moved back to Tampa, Florida, which has a climate not unlike Jakarta here for at least 5 months out of the year. Our founders did not go to Ivy League colleges. We didn't go to Harvard, Yale, MIT, or Stanford. And what's interesting about that transaction is also that we had no office, right? Everyone worked from home. As far as the numbers are concerned, TechCrunch actually did a study of a bunch of different startups and sort of where they sit on this graph here. On the bottom line here, on the horizontal axis, you see the amount of funding that's raised by the companies. And then on the vertical axis here is the valuation of those companies at exit, on acquisition, or IPO. Most of them sit on this sort of main line. Wufu sits on this way outlier way off to the left, and to sort of accentuate what made us different from a lot of other companies is the average startup raises on that line $25.3 million in venture capital and makes a return to their investors of 676%. Wufu only raised $118,000 for the life of the company. The other thing we do at these weekly dinners is we invite notable speakers to come and talk to our startups about their experiences. These are the founders of Airbnb. In addition to people that are sort of our well-to-do alumni, we also invite prominent entrepreneurs like Mark Zuckerberg and also investors like Mark Nxtcon and Ron Conway. At the end of the program, what we do is take all of their hard work, help them create a presentation, and then put them in a room full of investors. And then they pitch on demo day. And then from that point on, they sort of figure out how to get your company to the next level, whether it's fundraising or operating the company or what have you. In addition to the things that we do for our startups within the batch, we also do a lot of things for the startup community in general. Because our philosophy is basically we need as many smart young people to go out there and start their own companies as opposed to joining someone else's. And so we run free events like Startup School. We also run an online forum for entrepreneurs and people interested in startups. Hacker News is probably one of the best collections of sort of intelligent discussion on entrepreneurship, technologies used by startups in the Valley and around the world. One of the things that we do really well is help our companies raise funding if that's what they need. We have infinite time horizons at Y Combinator. We actually don't want people to exit early. And so if you need a lot of money to do this kind of thing that you want to sort of accomplish, we can be there for you. So we've helped, these numbers are actually outdated, but over 500 companies raise a collective $1.7 billion from the venture industry. And the companies that have valuations, our portfolio is worth a collective, I think it's beyond $12 billion, but some of that stuff needs to be updated. That moment after they launch is they start getting users. A lot of other things start getting in the way. Customer support, dealing with marketing, dealing with business development, how to deal with hiring. And those are the crucial moments for our startups to figure out how do we build out our value so that we grow this company appropriately and sort of maximize our growth. And what we tell a lot of people is the best way to help someone get to $1 billion is actually, for us, is to focus on how they make that first dollar. Basically, in our opinion, our motto at YC is to make something people want. If you're not doing this one singular thing, then it's going to be hard for you to sort of find success. But in terms of doing it at scale, we actually have this sort of contrary advice. PG wrote an essay called "Do Things That Don't Scale." And what that means is not go out there and spend money frivolously in sort of a if you extend that time to 1 hour and ask them to also share their hopes and their dreams, prediction rating goes up to 94%. Now they show these same videotapes to marriage counselors, people who are of the priesthood, people who are sociologists, psychologists, and they can't predict better than random chance. So John Gottman understands that something about the way we fight about things determines how long we're going to be with one another. And the relationships that happen at a personal level, one-to-one, in a marriage, looks exactly the same in terms of relationships across every type of the spectrum, including those inside of business. So what we did was say, in addition to helping the people that pay your paycheck, we'd say that you would have to also thank the people that pay your paycheck. And what that meant was every Friday that we'd have our team meeting, all the employees at our company, 10 of them, would write handwritten thank you cards to our customers. 10 of them each. We were never going to sort of scale up and meet them, where there were surprising moments of sort of appreciation that injected into our team a sense of humility, moderation, and sort of sense of really closeness with our users. The reason you don't see a lot of other companies do this is because some companies get really focused about looking like they're doing well versus actually being the kind of company that is doing well, right? We didn't care about having an office. We didn't care about making sure that we had a huge team that would do all these different tasks themselves, right? We focused on sort of the right sort of core values that we learned at YC, and as a result, we had a very successful exit while also owning a large percentage of equity of our company, which is something that we deserve. All right, thank you very much. copy the slides for this at the door. All right.
So thanks very much, Kevin, for the insights. So we are very honored because we have a very special guest. He's a very busy man. So we are very fortunate that he has found time in the busy days. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chairman of Indonesian Investment Coordination Board, Pak Mahendra Siregar. Also, very other special guest, would like to welcome Stephen Manada. Also, Takeshi Ibihara. And Luke Roche. Today we're going to talk about investment. As I said, I think it's one of really important thing, elements of the tech ecosystem. So we have all the experts here sitting. We can ask them about a lot of things. When I came back, so I lived more than 20 years in Germany. So when I came back to Indonesia, I found the Indonesian market and also the investors are a little bit different than the US and the European market. So I would like to discuss, because we have experts from different countries as well and from different backgrounds, what do you think is the difference between investors in Indonesia, in US or Europe, also Japan, Korea?
Just trying to have the right, well, maybe right is not the right term, the relevant term that we use with the investment board. But what I could share with you, it might have some relevance to your interest, is that the combination between those who come from Indonesia, Indonesian national investors, as well as international investors now have found a new balance. In the past, the ratio is between 1 to 10. 1 local or national, and then 10 international investors. And then 5 years ago, it was 1 to 5. Now it's 1 to 2. So there are more Indonesian investors compared to the previous years. Among others, it shows that there are more Indonesian national companies, and there are larger Indonesian national companies and investors. So they have contributed a much larger size to the whole cake of investment.
I think to share a little bit more on personal side in terms of the difference between Japan and Indonesia. What we see, what's different is first in terms of exit environment in Japan and compared to Indonesia, in the sense of for internet industry, if you see the US and in Japan and in China, you already see like a more some sort of more clear exit strategy first. So in a sense, when the investors come to Indonesia, when they don't see there's so much exit environment yet, that's also one of the factors that we see is different. And the second point is what's different from Japan is that some of the user behavior might not be the same in the sense, for example, in e-commerce, where we see Japan and the US, a lot of people are already using credit cards. The penetration of credit cards is much higher. The trust towards the e-commerce is definitely different from Indonesia, whereby Indonesia is still starting out. Of course, the credit card users are there, but still very minimal. So, and the logistic, for example, logistic itself.
Consider about the maturity of the startup ecosystem. And we always discuss with the other venture capital folks, around the world, like the US and Japan. And obviously, Southeast Asia is maybe a few decades behind the US, Japan, China. So in terms of the thick end of the human capital resources is we have to still wait for a bit longer time compared to those regions. But on the other hand, that's why we as a venture capital fund our structure is made on our fund life a bit longer than the usual venture capital. So we try a lot of effort to fit our strategy and to the market here. And also, important thing is that someone, having said that, try to have put a lot of effort in this lot to build an ecosystem. And obviously, Japan, as much as Japan is the most enthusiastic country to be here to build something.
Yes, I'm Luke Roush, represent Sovereigns Capital. We're a U.S.-based venture capital firm, but I live here in Florida, and we had an opportunity to focus on the emerging middle class and looked at a bunch of different places to focus our fund, and ended up deciding to focus here in Southeast Asia, and specifically in Indonesia. And I think it's no coincidence that Japanese and Americans are sitting up here, because I think growth is increasingly hard to come by in our home countries, and Indonesia represents a really exciting growth opportunity. Echoing some of what was said, I think that the ecosystem for investors in the U.S. is very complete. There are a lot of early stage investors, Series A, Series B, and then growth stage private equity. I think that ecosystem here in Indonesia is still filling out, and there's some gaps. And so we're more of a Series A, Series B investor, so we'd like to invest $1 to $4 or $5 million per company.
Maybe Pak Mahendra can.
I don't know. I don't think I can answer that question, but I don't have the experience. But let me share you my observation on what. Again, I'm not part yet of the digital or IT investment stakeholders, but this is what I see how let's say investors in the automotive sectors look at Indonesia in the past, and then how they look at us now. In the past, well, even up to now, we really don't have the most sophisticated and efficient logistics system in the world, and even sometimes it's very challenging to go from one place to another, let alone Indonesia, in Jakarta. Well, in many instances, and especially in particular hours, it's faster to walk than ride or use a car. But having said that, in the past, like the Japanese automotive industry, they would like to locate in the most efficient production base in ASEAN and Southeast Asia. And there are some other countries. But of course, at the same time, they look at Indonesia as a very small market, very tiny market. It was at that time only around 200,000 cars sold every year. So economies of scale is not there. But now, this morning I've just inaugurated a new car manufacturing factory opened by Nissan, focusing on low-cost green car production. And they are here to now have a complete, by themselves, 250,000 cars produced and sold every year. So, which is already much bigger than the whole market 10 years ago. Because our market now is about 1.3 million cars a year. Having said that, everybody is here now. I mean, mostly Japanese. When I say everybody, mostly Japanese. Of course, well, we see Volkswagen coming in, Mercedes-Benz is building their assembly plant, Fiat is considering, but maybe it needs more time to consider, and so on and so on. And General Motors too. But the point is, even in the last 5 or 4 years alone, we saw the investment figure in automotive grew from $500 million to $5 billion realized investment a year. Still, up to now, only 10% of Indonesian people or Indonesian households own a car. So Indonesian story in general, and I think also applies to this particular sector, it's not just glass half full, it's just glass 1/10 full. But that already creates the economies of scale. You just multiply with this $1 billion calculator, so you will be overwhelmed with the potential. But the point is, what colleagues here suggested is the environment ranging from the regulatory environment to the institutional setups that we have here. And I learned a lot in a couple of weeks, the recent couple of weeks, because I accompanied Minister Mary to Silicon Valley and LA, and I hear the same messages. It's about the readiness of the frameworks, of the environment, of the institutions, and even the whole mindset.
Products. So, because like what the colleagues here said, Indonesia is still very early in the sense that there might be certain business model that is on a longer time period. They need to have the patience to build this service for like 3 to 5 years. So they need to bleed. They need to they need to be patient before they see the positive cash flow. So if they don't have the passion, if they don't have that, believe, hey, one day this market will grow. As investors, we will not be investing in that. But for example, like right now, I think Indonesia is a mobile country in the sense that, of course, a lot of our service now is still on desktop and PC based. But eventually, we think it will be like towards smartphone era. So anything that has.
Yeah, for me as a state investor, the same as other folks, the team and the founders is the most important, of course. And on the other hand, the space they are trying to cover is of course, that's important. So even though the excellent talent try to do something different, space that we are looking for, we cannot help them. So our focus is consumer internet service, because mostly, maybe the same other folks from Japan or the other US maybe, the mid-class rising consumer appetite is one of the most sexy things.
You need to wait for investors. You need to go somewhere else and learn the lessons of like making something people want. There's lots of problems everywhere, and you can be the potential person to create that solution.
Well, one reason is, of course, as I said, it's still very much 9/10 or 1/10 glass full and 9/10 empty and growing. We have just received the latest outlook of the economic growth from organization called OECD. I don't know how many of you have ever heard this organization. It's in Paris, suggesting that next year the large emerging economies ranging from Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and Indonesia would have quite respectable level of growth. But out of the 6 countries, only Indonesia will have next year's growth higher than this year. The rest will have milder level of growth. So that is one. The second one is, of course, you have heard lately, why we can enjoy and sustain this economic growth is simply because our population average age is 28. So I'm, of course, in the top, whatever percentage. While you might be the average, not at all young at all anymore. It would be different if you go to Florida and you are the youngest in the family. Here you are just an average person. So what does it mean? It means that you are looking at the potential of what demographers said as the demographic bonus of Indonesia.
I think I'll just pretty much just highlighting what we said. But if you ask me if it's the right time to invest or not, the answer is yes. Otherwise we wouldn't be here, here right now. But I think what was the real question that everyone would ask is when is the tipping point, in the sense that when it will be like the exponential growth. We can actually already see there's some hint already in Indonesia. For example, the government is already investing in the infrastructure. There's more available, for example, super Android mobile devices and then internet-ready mobile devices. So we can see the infrastructure, the support for the infrastructure is there. We just need to wait for a couple more years before it actually shoot off. But if we compare maybe Vietnam or Thailand, maybe in the sense that in terms of e-commerce or internet penetration, internet infrastructure, maybe they are a little bit more ready, a bit ahead of us. But the potential, the bigger potential is here in Indonesia, not only because of the populations, but of course in terms of the growth and as well as the optimal value that we can reach for Indonesia.
Maybe advice for the Indonesian people or startups.
Get started now. There's no need to wait. Everyone's hungry to find sort of the next Google out of here from Indonesia. So the only way that happens is if you get started right now. If you don't know how to make something happen, then start learning how to make it. There's so many resources that are out there that are available thanks to the internet. So there's really no excuse.
My message is let's think big. Indonesia is very big, and ASEAN is much bigger, and APAC is much bigger, so that you can attract the investors a lot. And let's work hard and let's focus, as Luke said. And for that, please call me.
Yeah, so my last thoughts are get the right teammates, focus on making sure you like who you're working with and you believe in each other. Stay lean, don't start spending too much money too quickly, and stay focused on the problem you're trying to solve.
So, thank you very much. Please welcome Mario Foucault.
So we're moving to the last session. It's I find it the most interesting session out of all. And I want to introduce to you Ruchi-san from Dropbox. Nxtcon from Just a TV. And then Justin, second. Nxtcon first. Let's see. Next is Aman Bartram. Aman? Sorry, buddy. Thank you. Warm welcome to Aman. Kevin Hale. Last but not least, Ray Chan. Please give a warm welcome to all our speakers. Alright. So, with this session, I think this is one of the most hotly topic that people want to discuss. So let's just begin. Okay, I have a first question for Nxtcon. Nxtcon, in your experience with starting a startup, right? How do you decide what to build? And how did you take your initial idea for a startup and come up with the first version of your product?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of startups. Like you can try to be like Dropbox and be a multi-billion-dollar company with hundreds or thousands of employees. You can be like a nice little SaaS business that has 200 customers paying you $40 a month, which is almost $100 grand a year. Like there's lots of ways to do it. In general, like the YC philosophy is kind of solve your own problem. So like, for instance, Optimizely is going to be a billion-dollar company soon. Dan was really just solving his own problem. He was working on the Obama campaign and found that like all the A/B testing tools out there sucked. And so he built a company to help everyone else do better like A/B testing for their websites. And there are folks like Michael Harlow from Rails Tutorial who just has, thousands of paying customers who pay him like a monthly fee.
How about you, Ruchi? What do you think about aesthetic versus function, right? So does your product need to be pretty? Pleasing to use, or does it need to be clear, or are the two related?
I would say that the two are definitely related, especially nowadays building tech products and generally doing product development for consumers has a massive design component. And don't ever underestimate what design can do to the product. So when you talk about having teams that have engineers and people who think about the product and product managers, the third very important component that was often missed in the past was design. So aesthetics for the sake of aesthetics are silly. They're a waste of time and they're useless. Aesthetics should generally, or design as I like to call it, should generally think about how users interact with the product, how they use the product, whether or not the right things are being brought to the forefront of the product. So, for example, when we designed Newsfeed, we actually spent 3 or 4 months in design mock-up phase. And while we were building the back-end infrastructure, at the same time, we would spend exactly the same amount of time.
Justin, over and over we hear that a strong product will market itself. So for instance, like Facebook, right? It's essentially marketed itself and became really huge. What do you think about this? Is it valid?
Well, I think it depends. I think that a product like Facebook has some virality, and it's more useful when other people are using it as a small network. I think that other products are viable to market themselves because they're just so good. And you really want to tell other people about Tinder.
Oh yeah, I use Tinder.
But when people get on Tinder, they just love it so much that they talk to people about it. But there's actually no viral game. The guys I would be telling about guys.
Well, you can watch TV and just keep swiping, right? And then just talk to all your users.
Yeah. So I think that there's different ways to make your product work itself. But really good products. There's 2 ways. Either have network effects actually built in, or I was saying really good products that have market themselves really.
Really fascinating too. So Justin's certainly right that the channels of growth are continually changing, and then most extremely successful products discover new channels. But there is, across all the channels, new and old, the process can be measured. And I think most people who successfully leverage one of those channels, they don't do it accidentally. They're measuring exactly at what rate users are bringing in new users over the channel. And so once you've done that, you can compare for your particular product across all the channels available and see, email's not going to work, Facebook's not going to work, but given the nature of our app, Twitter is an extremely effective growth mechanism. And if you have stats, you can see that. You can then run some tests and focus your energy on Twitter and generate that growth.
I think, that sucks. Yeah, because for Nike itself, the product itself is very simple. That's why we just be open so people can upload pictures onto our website. Before we start to localize, there are so many similar websites in Indonesia, in Thai, or in other languages. So before we can really think about localization, there are already existing players. Yeah, that's why right now what we are focusing on is just to improve the current website, because after all, English is still the most popular language. Yeah, I think maybe in the long run we will definitely do more things to localize the content. After all, it's about providing the content that your users like. Yeah, that's what we are thinking.
In terms of your product, right, there are issues and so on. So how do you identify which one to prioritize and work first? Because there are tons of
Sure. So, talking to users is, of course, always the first thing that you should be doing. I love how at Woohoo they were all doing customer support. We also at Mars did that too. Every person in Mars was answering support emails. And often the users will send you like a request for some strange feature and you're confused why. And you have to understand that like often that feature sounds like a terrible idea, but there's some underlying problem why they want that feature, but you can probably solve that problem in a better way. So if you talk to them, you can kind of figure out what the underlying problem really is and hopefully solve it in a better way. And often you just saying no to new features is actually the best thing you can do. Like at Parse, we had people for a long time asking for like to be able to import their data via CSV files, which I thought was strange why someone would want to do that. And eventually we figured out why it was happening. It was basically non-technical and marketing type people wanting to upload data to the site so they could like send push notifications to those people. And we were able to solve the problem in a better way in a tool marketed really to those marketers.
2 or 3 buckets. There's the long-term vision aspect that you want to constantly innovate and create and build upon your product. And you should hold steadfast to that. If you believe in it and if you're passionate about it, you should try it, you should test it, you should look at the data, you should see how people are using it. Then there are the user improvements that people write in and having difficulty using the product. And all products, whether it's Dropbox, Facebook, Gmail, any of these other companies will encounter those, and you need to find the root cause of the problem and fix it.
A/B test. Make decisions based on market situation, and then verify the data. And if data says it's not helping, you have to go back, unfortunately.
Also, for really expensive features that you're not sure about, you can use the sort of grayish thing called broken windows. You can add a link to said feature and see if anyone actually even clicks it and tries to use it and just 500. Or like say, well, sorry, this isn't ready yet, but we'll give you early access once it is.
Startups, especially very small startups, shouldn't be concerned about 2 and 3% increases in conversion. But testing is the only way you know whether your big changes has an effect, right? So you're looking, I think you totally have to test, but you shouldn't, I mean, first of all, given, you know, if you only see a 2% improvement, there's a high probability of not making a change anyway. That 2% is probably, you know, startup action can then. But I think you have to test, because if you don't test, you're probably making you're probably making things worse instead of better. But when you're in the test, you're looking for tests that give you a 2x, a 3x, a 4x, a 5x increase in performance, not a 10% increase in performance.
There's actually some studies that were done by Jared Small. He's one of the biggest sort of proponents of like user experience design from back in the early days of computing. And they've actually shown data that like product teams who do not constantly like talk directly to users, the quality of their product degrades over time. And the kind of talks that you have to do is you have to do at least 2 hours of direct engagement with users almost every 4 months. Otherwise, that degrade will happen consistently and happen across every product team that he ever worked with and did consulting for. And so direct talk, and it's easy to get people to just try out something. Like Alexis from Reddit, if you would just go to coffee shops and just say, I'll buy you a coffee if you would just play around with my site for a little bit and tell me what you think. Like, people love giving their opinions.
What kind of criteria should you look at when you're approaching these kinds of outsourcing companies?
I don't think you should outsource your user experience to building a product. That's like pretty much the only thing that's important about your product. You should just like, you don't have to be like, have a lot of experience to figure out how to make a product, because it's a pretty simple process. You know, people learn by doing, right? I think that you first have to just talk to your users. You have to form some hypotheses. You have to build those things and then see what the results are. And usually people, even people who have product design experience, may not necessarily know exactly how to build a new product if it's in a different category or vertical or a different type of product. But they can become successful by following that fairly simple process. If you're outsourcing your user experience to someone else, you don't really have any control over your product. You don't really know if they're talking to your users or making decisions based on some sort of user feedback.
US, everybody's like, whatever graduates, they have better, somehow like the arguments typically say they have better education, right? So people are more multitaskers and so on, right? But in Asia, people are a bit more specialized. Like, like.
No, I can multitask. The thing, from what we see is, the thing is not about the education. The thing is more about whether you can learn fast and execute fast. Yeah. So all the founders that I met at YC or in Hong Kong, basically, they are with similar personality. It's not about the education. I know some guys who didn't really finish high school, but he can really do things. Yeah.
Thank you for the panel talk. We're going to move to question and answer. So we're ending on that note. Anybody have questions for the panel?
Hello, my name is Ilan. I'm 8 months.
Can you speak a bit louder?
Yeah, so I want to ask to all of the panelists here, if one of you guys assigned to solve social problems in Indonesia by creating the mobile apps or any website, what kind of product that you make? All of you, actually. Just,
sorry, can you rephrase the question? Can you rephrase the question again?
Yeah. If one of you guys are assigned to solve the social problems in Indonesia by creating the mobile apps or website, what kind of website or mobile app that you're planning to make?
What is an example of a social problem?
Let's say make it narrow to, let's say, for the educational system in Indonesia.
I would say almost every popular social media app, I think for the exception of Twitter, like they really got their good run because everyone realized like, oh, I can find someone I can date from here, and I can sort of help them sort of get a hookup. And so, like, it's usually a good start from there. It's like, start with whatever, if you're trying to build a social media app, you're trying to sort of base desires and help people sort of fulfill those as quickly as possible. And then you sort of expand out your vision and go from there. If you were to solve like sort of education, I don't know if social is the best way to sort of handle that, right? Like there's so many, I mean, even in the US, everyone's trying to solve that problem in a deep way. And usually at education, it's something about infrastructure, something about the way education is automatically structured, usually at the government level, that requires a very different way of attacking that problem. It can't be done just through sort of at the consumer level.
Hi, my name is Adi. I'm from Haruka Edu. Actually, this is online class. I'm joining the technopreneurship. I want to learn about the tech startup. My question is, actually, I want to ask the question in the investment session, but it's okay. When you're developing a product and then you consider to need more money to develop your product, so you're expecting to get investment from the venture capitalists. But how you can avoid venture capitalists that involve in money laundering activity? Because in Indonesia we have anti-money laundering law, so we expecting investment, but the good one. So maybe you can give some tips to avoid this one. Thank you.
Wait, there's a problem? There's a problem of like venture capitalists using dirty money to invest in companies?
That's an interesting investment. So let's ask some venture capitalists like Sebastian. I wonder what your fund. Is that your fund that is talking about? So I'm sorry, but like I guess we don't have that answer right now.
I think one thing that I know is usually when you find an investor, you don't just look for their money, right?
Yeah.
For example, when we get YC and we get 500 startups as our investors, it's because we want their network, we want their experience. If suddenly a guy comes to you and gives you some money, usually that's not a good thing, right? There's a saying in Chinese is whenever there are people bring good stuff to your home, usually they are not good people. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you have a lot of passion in your work that it gets becoming like gray area, right? Like, what do you bridge that?
We had a rule at Wufu. We actually had a 15-minute rule for meetings. So we said that, like, basically, we actually had a 4.5-day work week at Wufu. And 1 day of the week, every developer had to do customer support. So really, each individual person only had 3 days to do the work they were going to do for that week. That means they could be very efficient with their time. And the way we were able to sort of enforce that, we said, like, we're only going to have 1 meeting a week on the Friday meeting. And so, like, there's going to be times when you need to interact with other developers, other people on the team. But we said, like, you were to limit that to 15 minutes. So if any discussion that you're having with someone, or you're having a problem with over something, you hit a 15-minute mark, you are automatically told to sort of table the problem and then move on to the next item on your to-do list. And what we found out is that pretty much once people sort of slept on it, they magically realized it wasn't a big problem, or they'd sort of figure out stuff. But by automatically building in sort of this breaking period so that like emotions wouldn't flare up, we'd allow problems to be solved sort of naturally, and they wouldn't really come up in the Friday meetings as a result. So,
awesome, great.
One way that you can do is, that's what we tried, is try to sleep with your co-founders. I mean, live with, yeah. Now, because I think...
I actually have a story to share on that.
Yeah.
I did that with my co-founder was my husband.
Yeah, I also sleep with my co-founders. We sleep on the same bed for 4 months when we were in 500 staffs. I think the key is usually you know that guy well, and then if his habits annoy you so much,
Too soon.
fortunate enough to have a great team, and I'm very thankful, especially Catherine, Angela, and Danny. And of course, a great mentor, Andy Zane, Sebastian Togila, and my cousin, Justin Khan. Man, without him, I don't think the other guys will come, right? So, again, I would love to get a second event in another 6 months or so, and I hope everybody can come and enjoy also at the same time. All right, that's all for now, and thank you. Thank you for all the attendees and everybody. Take care.
I think Nxtcon is a really great event. On one hand, as a speaker, I can understand more about Indonesian market, and on the other hand, I can also meet our users of NiGet. Yeah, so it's really great, and I would love to come next year.
Nxtcon's super awesome. I really loved all the Indonesian startups that I met here. There's so many smart, young people trying to make things happen, and I really love the hustle of this place, and I can't wait to see the things that you guys build out here from this point forward. Thanks.